You are scrolling through your Facebook feed when an article catches your eye. It is published by the North Boston News, and it covers exactly the kind of everyday community issues you would expect: municipal budgets, local school rankings, and regional property taxes. It looks highly professional, complete with a standard newspaper layout and a local reporter's byline. There is just one problem. North Boston does not exist as a municipality. The listed reporter has no internet footprint, no past articles, and no actual identity. The entire publication is a fabricated front. Researchers call this phenomenon pink slime journalism, a term borrowed from the cheap, artificially mass-produced meat filler used in fast food. In the media landscape, it refers to a tactic where partisan operatives construct websites that wear the skin of a traditional local newspaper, using that trusted aesthetic to launder political propaganda. The deception works because it weaponizes a specific cultural vulnerability. Historically, Americans report much higher levels of trust in their local community papers than they do in national cable networks. By mimicking a neighborhood broadsheet, political actors bypass the natural skepticism voters apply to traditional political advertisements. To understand how these imposter sites thrive, we have to look at the massive void they are filling. Over the past 2 decades, the traditional business model for local print journalism has collapsed. Thousands of publications have shuttered, leaving over 50 million Americans stranded in what researchers call news deserts, communities with zero dedicated local reporting. This chart tracks the scale of the takeover, and it reveals a grim milestone reached in 2024. The number of fake, partisan-funded local news sites, at least 1,265, officially eclipsed the total number of remaining legitimate daily local newspapers left operating in the United States. Bad actors view the death of a local newspaper as a strategic opportunity, moving into these unregulated markets to exploit the sudden lack of oversight and information. The collapse of local journalism eliminated the watchdogs. In their absence, a turnkey infrastructure for mass voter manipulation was quietly assembled across all 50 states. Tearing down a pink slime operation reveals several distinct layers of mechanics. Layer 1 is pure astroturfing. These networks purchase highly specific geographic domain names, like the Miami Chronicle or the Grand Canyon Times, manufacturing a false sense of community heritage to instantly hijack local trust. Layer 2 is automation. Running over 1,200 localized news sites traditionally requires a massive payroll of editors and reporters on the ground. These networks operate efficiently because they do not hire actual journalists. Instead, they rely on algorithmic templating. They scrape public datasets like property records, crime statistics, and sports scores and feed them into automated systems. Generative AI then takes national partisan talking points and seamlessly blends them with this local data to create hyper-local sounding stories at zero marginal cost. Layer 3 involves the weaponization of transparency laws. In a single year, one of these major networks filed more than 9,000 Freedom of Information Act requests targeting city, town, and village governments. These networks funnel public records data directly into their content engine to automate targeted attacks. By scraping names from election day rolls or school board logs, they can automatically generate articles that dox residents or isolate local political rivals, often without ever seeking a comment from the targets. The actual articles on these sites are entirely secondary. They are merely a simulation of local news, constructed specifically to mask and deliver highly targeted political hits. Looking behind the code brings us to Layer 4, the funding. The largest player in this space is Metric Media, a massive network spearheaded by businessman Brian Campone. His network alone operates over 1,000 of these pseudo-local sites, fueled by millions from conservative megadonors and dark money groups. This infrastructure stands the political aisle. Progressive operatives established Courier Newsroom, raising tens of millions from Democratic megadonors to mirror the right's tactics. These networks now compete for the same local news deserts, as both sides build parallel systems to control the local narrative in battleground states. By legally classifying themselves as media companies rather than political action committees, these networks exploit a massive campaign finance loophole. They can spend tens of thousands of dollars boosting their articles as political ads on social media without adhering to standard political disclosure requirements. When a user clicks on one of these promoted articles, the site harvests their IP address, browsing habits, and demographic information. This surveillance data is then fed directly back to political operatives. It allows campaigns to execute highly precise, unregulated micro-targeting of specific voter profiles within swing districts. These sites function as dark money surveillance tools, using the aesthetic of local news to mask the extraction of voter data and the delivery of targeted messaging. This machinery forces the nationalization of local politics. Municipal elections, usually focused on pragmatic issues like zoning, potholes, and school funding, are flooded with the highly polarizing, zero-sum culture war toxicity, usually reserved for federal campaigns. By algorithmically appending national controversies to local town names, these networks manipulate down-ballot elections. In the process, they poison the well for the few genuine local journalists still trying to report on their communities. When voters discover they have been tricked by a fake local paper, their cynicism deepens, and they transfer that distrust to all media. And the deception is highly effective. In a study conducted by Yale University, researchers found that even after participants received digital media literacy training, 41% still could not reliably distinguish these fake, algorithmically generated sites from real local news. The effectiveness of this model has attracted international escalation. Media watchdogs recently uncovered a network of sites posing as U.S. local news outlets that were actually run by a fugitive living under Kremlin protection in Moscow. Hostile Russian operatives are now utilizing the exact same pink slime playbook to launder disinformation into American elections. The astroturfing infrastructure, originally built by domestic political action committees, has evolved into a turnkey weapon readily available for foreign adversaries to attack the democratic process. Because this is an economic and structural failure of the market, citizens cannot simply fact-check their way out of the problem. Addressing it requires structural transparency. Tech platforms and search engines must close the advertising loopholes that allow PACs to masquerade as publishers, requiring clear, immutable disclosures of financial backing for any entity categorized as a news publisher. Sustaining a healthy democracy requires massive public and philanthropic reinvestment into real, on-the-ground local reporting to replace these digital mirages with transparent facts. Authentic community journalism requires human beings covering their own neighbors. We have to support these local newsrooms before the illusion takes over completely.